Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. In this, our September 9th, 2024 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including what's been happening with James Gunn's comments in regards to the new Superman movie. We're going to be looking at how much David Corenswet had to consume to bulk up for the role of Superman. We've got some details on the Superman and Lois Season 4 premiere and so much more. We're also going to turn to you for any questions and comments you might have. And we want to introduce my co-hosts who are with me tonight. Mark's figuring out his framing as we go, but we've got Michael Bailey and Mark Lax. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hello, Steve.
How you doing? So, Mark, we just need you to shift it to your left.
I'm trying that, but every time I move,
your other left.
It just my other left.
But we'll get there in a second. All right, and
I apologize.
All good. We want to thank our sponsors and our patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, Tina Murray, and Luke Moody. We want to thank them for their sponsorship of the show, and for I had a nice message from Douglas Meacham this past week saying, I'll buy you a coffee anytime, Steve, hopefully in person one day. So thank you for their support of this show and of the website. We really appreciate their support. And if you want to join those fine folks and be a sponsor of the Superman homepage, you can simply click the join button on YouTube. There are different levels of membership with different levels of perks. Or you can go to patreon.com/Superman homepage. There you go, Mark. You've got it all figured out.
A little bit better, yeah.
Yeah, very good. So how have you guys been? Michael, you've recovered from Dragon Con?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not as tired, and my knees are not hurting as much, so that's good.
And Mark, you've recovered from your illness?
Well, more or less. I still got a thing with my ear. I don't know what's going on, but
old age.
Other than that, I'm feeling okay.
Very good. Glad to hear it. All right. Yes. I've just got a message from John Patrick Van Pelt, who says that he sent me a message trying to visit the website and received a message about it being insecure. We did. It's
yes,
technical.
I have too.
Yeah, it's the Secure Service Certificate, SSL. Has been renewed, but it might take a little while to propagate for a lot of people. So you can be assured that everything's fine with the website. There is no dramas, no risks to visiting the website. It's just that little lock or key, depending on what kind of browser you're using, needs to come up sometimes to make sure that you're secure visiting the site. And that certificate has been renewed yesterday, but sometimes it takes up to 24 to 48 hours to propagate. So that could be an issue just for a little bit, but I assure you all is good and safe. So thank you, John, for bringing that to my attention. All right, well, let's get into tonight's topics. And as I said to start the show, we've got the movie news side of things, where James Gunn was participating in an interview with EW.com, where he was talking about the upcoming Creature Commandos animated series that will debut on Max on December 5th. Being like the first thing that we see from the new DC studios. But Superman is still very much the launch of the new projects, if you like, the new DC universe. And he said, Superman is the true start of everything. It's a humongous epic. This is a way for people to just take a little nibble and see what it tastes like in regards to Creature Commando. So it's kind of giving you a little bit of a taste of what the DC universe will be like, but Superman is the true start of everything. And I heard a lot of people going, oh, of course he's going to call it a humongous epic. It's his film. What else is he going to say? But, I mean, I'd rather him be talking positive than not saying anything at all.
Well, I mean, we are talking about the guy that said that The Flash was one of the best superhero films ever made, and I'm not saying that he's speaking out of turn with this one, but I just think, how else are you going to describe a Superman film? Do you really want to describe it? Oh, the Superman film, super small scale, nothing really big. Maybe he'll like fly a little bit. No, you're gonna describe it as a humongous epic, and you're gonna say that as to be kind of like to create a better frame of reference of what Creature Commandos is going to be. Creature Commandos is one of the, I don't want to call it lighter because it's obviously very adult, but it's one of the smaller pieces of the DCU, and Superman's going to be one of the bigger. People get a people, but I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's we know it's going to be Humongous Epic, but when he says it's Humongous Epic, people people have problems with that. I mean, sure, he's going to say that because he's a director. No, he's going to say it because it's true. It's going to be Humongous Epic. It's a Superman movie. I don't.
It'll be interesting because there have been some kind of rumors and some word going out there. Nothing enough to kind of report on, but there's been some whispers from behind the scenes that this film will be different to anything we've seen before in regards to it will be in a DC universe that is not our world. So it's not like we're going to be seeing New York and, in place of Metropolis or anything like that. It's kind of removed from our universe and it will be different in that way. And I'm all for that. I don't want it to be set in our reality.
Yeah, and that's kind of how DC has operated for most of its publishing history. You had Gotham City, you had Central City, you had Coast City and Opal City and Gateway City and all of these fictional cities, and it just it's the Marvel versus DC approach of superhero storytelling. Some people really like it being rooted in the real world. I think the fact that you're not rooting it in the real world is going to make it stand out, and it will be that distinctive thing. I think one of the problems with the previous version of the DC cinematic universe is that they tried to make most of them, to a large extent, too real. They wanted to root it in this is what would happen in the real world. And yes, Metropolis was Metropolis and all that, but at the same time, you had like real world settings like Paris and such. And I think the Flash took place in Philadelphia, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on that. I mean, not the Flash, the Shazam movie. So I think if you're going to set your flag, plant your flag, and say this is a DC universe brought to life, you do that. You come up with the fake cities. It worked very well for the TV shows as well.
And I think if you look at it in regards to what we've seen from the on location photos that have leaked, that the dress sense, what people are wearing. Sometimes it's not a period piece. You couldn't really place it in any particular. It's got some kind of 70s vibes to it. It's got but it's not necessarily of a particular era based on our Earth fashion sense. So it could be that's why it's setting itself apart. Is that it's setting itself in a place that doesn't actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's a fantasy, and one of the problems I had with the Snyderverse and all of that was it was, again, like Mike said, it's trying to be real. This would happen in the real world. Well, I don't care what's going to happen in the real world because we're not going to see Superman in the real world. We're going to see Superman in his world, which isn't a real world. I mean, yes, you might want to relate to certain characters in certain situations, and we certainly have had real things that have gone on. I mean, people dying and this and that, but at the end of the day, I want to have some fun and I want to have some entertainment, and I want to walk out of a Superman movie feeling good and not just feeling this kind of grim feeling. So I just, in the end, it's better that it's taking place in the fictional world. As opposed to everyone thinks, oh, it's great. Marvel takes place in New York. Hey, they take place in the real world. Well, you know what? That's great. for Marvel, but for DC, they've always had their own cities and their own world, and that's the way it should be,
Yeah, I agree.
in my opinion.
The Nostalgic Podblast says, I wonder what products will be tied into the marketing of the movie. Obviously, we got Coca-Cola and JVC and some of the others in Superman the movie. In Man of Steel, we had IHOP. We had some of the other... Sears, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what we get, if there are any... we've seen that they will have Big Belly Burger. We've got some of the fictional Metropolis settings, Bibos, that kind of stuff, the Acer clubs, those kinds of things will be seen in the film. But whether or not there is any actual real world sponsorship type of deals that we see some of the marketing go in, it will be interesting. We'll wait and see.
So what Mark is saying is that this is a fantasy, and this is the product of someone's wild imagination. Okay,
imagination. Yes,
I got it. Okay,
this
good. So we're doing the opposite of Superman the movie. Perfect.
No, well, yeah. I mean,
he's being
facetious.
I
can't get into that whole thing. I'd like to, but I won't.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, we saw a Many Things Pod channel Q&A with David Corenswet ahead of what they're doing with an interview, where he answered some fan questions, including some of the things like what are his biggest influences as an actor, what obstacles did he face while filming the new movie, how many calories he had to consume. Here's kind of like a little bit of what I uploaded from that interview.
David Corenswet, what are some obstacles you faced while filming Superman?
I have this weird neuroatypical thing where like I hear the question literally and I'm like just trying to think of literal obstacles. Like I ran into a wall at one point. Yeah, I got beat up. That was fun. But yeah, like there was this glass thing that I was supposed to fly through. Oh, I walked into a door. That was a good obstacle.
What's your favorite type of hat?
Ones that fit, big ones. Big ones. Love a Panama hat.
How many calories were you consuming per day for Superman?
When I was bulking, somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 calories a day.
God.
Which was 3 meals, 2 1,200 calorie shakes, and a bedtime snack of like half a carton to a full 32-ounce carton of Greek yogurt. It was not fun. I don't recommend it unless you have a reason to gain 38 pounds in 4 months or whatever.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. That's
yeah,
and that's a lot of Greek yogurt too. I'm not a real big fan of Greek yogurt, so I couldn't imagine having. No, I mean, but that's what these guys do. When you listen to like Hugh Jackman and all them talk about the diets that they have to go on, they're eating 45 to 5,000 calories a day, but it's all like boiled chicken and no carbs whatsoever. I remember Hugh Jackman talking about how he always liked ending an X-Men movie because he could finally eat pasta again. Because you just can't, because you're supposed to, you're bulking up, you're trying to gain muscle and lose fat. So, but yeah, that was a weird interview, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah,
in a way.
He's kind of very distracted doing whatever he was doing there, and it looked like they were in the costume department or with all the clothing in the background. But it's kind of very off the cuff and a very candid type of chat. And obviously, he's got a big head. He needs big hats.
Yeah, I would like to know the type of hats he's going to wear.
Yeah. So there you have it. That was just a cute interview that you'll be able to see more of with the Sleazy Salamander TikTok channel. And as I said, the Manly Things Pod channel on YouTube. So make sure you check those guys out. All right, still in the movie front side of things, but moving towards the Superman, the Christopher Reeve story documentary film that will soon be on our screens around the world. It recently won a 2024 Hamptons Film Summer Doc Series Award for the Audience Award after an August 14th screening. It was presented with the Audience Award, which is, this film it's already got a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It is just like nobody is giving this movie anything but praise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's getting a lot of advertising and marketing as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you get trapped on that algorithm on TikTok, you're gonna see the same ad over and over and over again.
Yep.
Which I'm not really complaining about. I'm just saying that that's actually good because it's keeping it in the eyes of and thoughts of people. I wish it had a wider release.
More than just 2 days.
More than just those 2 days, but theaters are dodgy. They're a dodgy prospect right now. You can't really count on to sink the money into it because you don't know if the audience is going to be there. But I'm still definitely looking forward to it, and I'm glad that it's winning these awards because that means that it's really connecting with those audiences.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is one I'm really looking forward to. Well, I mean, I know it's a heavy subject and all that, but
yeah,
just looking at his life and hearing from his kids and hearing, exactly what they have to say, and I'm sure it has its ups and downs. I'm sure it's not going to show him as the biggest hero in the world. Like, everything he did was perfect, but
nah.
It's he in the end he was a hero. He really was, and I'm just glad I mean, I know it's only going to be 2 days. I don't know why they would just do that, but I'm glad at least it does get a release and enough people maybe can go see it, and we'll see. And I don't know where do we know where it's going after that, or
it'll probably end up on Max. So yeah, once it's hit the theater, I'm sure it will end up being on a streaming service, most likely Max, since Warner Brothers is the one distributing it.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's where it will end up once it has had its cinematic release. So yeah, 21st and 25th of this month in the US. I think Canada is the same, the 21st, and then we've spoke about all the international dates last week, but you can see them on supermanhomepage.com if you need any clarification on when it will be showing in a theatre near you. It is, I have seen some promotions all around about the place. I believe you can probably get your advance tickets now if you want to book ahead. So with one screening or two screenings, you might need to do that to make sure you don't miss out. So there is that. All right, so that's great that it's getting such great accolades. All right, let's look across to the TV side of things. And Superman and Lois is just under a month away from hitting our TV screens. The CW did release official episode descriptions for the double episode premiere of the fourth and final season of the show. The first episode is going to be titled The End and the Beginning. And it reads as 2-hour premiere event part 1. Superman is locked in a brutal battle with Luthor's monster. Lois and the boys race against time to save General Sam Lane. So that's the first part. And then the second part is titled A World Without, obviously hinting towards A World Without Superman from the comic books. And that will air directly after the part 1. And the description for that is Lana and Sarah join the fight against Luthor, who starts making moves in Smallville. Jordan and Jonathan butt heads over an important decision. So there you have the first 2 episodes, which will, as I said, premiere on October 7th, Monday, October 7th at 8 p.m. The second episode at 9 p.m. And then thereafter, Superman and Lois will continue on Monday nights at the 8 p.m. time slot.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. Going to be good.
Yeah, this is one thing I'm really anticipating, especially after they show, we saw that clip of him fighting Doomsday, and I was like, wow, that looked awesome. So hopefully it'll just keep on that trajectory.
Yes,
I said that wrong.
We knew what you're trying to say. And
yes,
yeah, we also have this image from TVline.com. Which is our first look, really, of a photo from season 4 of Lex Luthor there with Mercy Graves. Showrunner Brent Fletcher revealed that There are a lot of pieces on the chessboard that Lex is trying to knock off, including Smallville. We'll see the origin of where this comes from and his beef with Superman and Lois. There's a lot of history that we dive into. So, delving into Lex's motivations around why he despises Superman and Lois so much in this universe.
Yeah, I was
gonna...
kind of assuming that... Go ahead, Mark.
No. I just want to say, are we going to see him pre-beard, without a beard, as Lex? Just curious.
If they do a flashback, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
With hair.
Go on. Sorry.
Michael.
Yeah, what I was saying, or trying to say was, this is how I think they're going to get around Tyler being dead for a number of episodes, is that it's going to be a bunch of flashbacks to the Daily Planet, which is, it's actually, when you think about it, that's the best of both worlds. I'm not suggesting that Superman is going to become a Borg, and thank you for all who get that joke. No, but when you think about it, we saw, we did have that one episode that kind of flashback to how he put on the suit for the first time and all that. But we really didn't see like the early days of Clark and Lois at the Daily Planet working together for any length of time. So this is actually kind of a way to have your cake and eat it too. You're doing the Death of Superman story, but you're also doing a series of flashbacks that kind of flesh out the world before everything ends. And on that, I'm really looking forward to if that's the way that.
Yeah, well, some of the best episodes of the season so far have been some of those flashback episodes where they delve into those stories to kind of give us a bit of a backstory as to why they are where they are at the moment. But Todd Helbing and Brent Fletcher did indicate that that Tyler Hoechlin will be in every episode, regardless of the fact that Superman dies. We still will see Tyler Hoechlin in every episode, but some of them, as you say, Michael, could be in flashback sequences until he does return, and we know that he will. We just don't know when. So we'll wait and see, and looking forward to the 7th of October when we first get the first episode of Season 4. But don't forget, a Season 3 finale encore will take place there in the US on Monday, September 30th at 8 p.m. And we will give you some updates as to what we will be doing with our show in the next week or so in regards to changing time, night, what have you, to make sure that we're not clashing with Superman and Lois. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. All right, we are going to take a quick break. I know it's a little bit early, but we're almost at the halfway mark of tonight's show. We're going to take a quick break, play some messages, and then come back on the flip side to do the fan favorite segment, This Week in History, our Clark Kent analysis, Clark Kent costume analysis series, looking at Tyler Hoechlin, and we'll also get into maybe some comic book stuff, all in the second half hour of tonight's program. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying Superman Homepage Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program, just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by going to patreon.com/Superman Homepage.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer, the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Well, fellows and girls, what I have to say will only take a few seconds, but I hope it sticks with you for a long time. It's about cleanliness, being clean in mind as well as in body. Now, believe me when I tell you that a clean mind in a clean body is important to success and happiness in life. For instance, in school, in your social life, and later when you grow up in your business contacts, the quality of the clothes you wear is never as important as the condition of them. In other words, it's never as important to be expensively dressed as it is to be neat and clean. Being neat and clean always leaves a good impression. And a good impression is important to success. Well, the same thing is true of a clean mind. So begin now to develop the habit of being clean in mind and body. Think clean and keep clean. Lack of cleanliness is usually a sign of carelessness, and carelessness indicates laziness. Remember always that carelessness and laziness lead to failure. Start now to prepare for success by thinking clean and being clean.
Always love that message.
That's my favorite.
It's so preachy.
It's just weird.
And he repeats himself so many times.
Yeah.
And I get it because it was a PSA for the radio show, and they're trying to teach kids that it's important to not look like a hobo, essentially. So, and I get that, but it's just like it's like, was he making it up on the fly? Like, because it was rambly, and usually those things are like, remember, punchy, kids, like really direct. But here it's just like, yeah, be clean, and maybe you should brush your teeth because no one likes bad breath.
It's like
Listerine too.
Like the doctor, the director in the background is like, keep going, like filling time.
So long.
There is a Batman PSA from the 60s that aired in the UK that was the Adam West in full Batman costume teaching kids how to cross the street safely. And at the very end of it, he picks up a kid. He's got the kid kind of like on his arm, and he's looking at the camera. And, usually after and that's what I have to say, and the camera cuts out, but it doesn't. It just stays on him, and he's just looking at the camera. And I'm like, are they going to cut it? That's kind of how this feels, but opposite. Like, he just keeps going. And you're right, Steve. It's just like the director's like, stretch it out. We're short on time. We blew this completely. We don't have a commercial to go to.
Yeah, funny. All right. Got a question. Super chat. Thanks to John Patrick Van Pelt, which, folks, if you want to add a super chat, which can be seen on the screen, you click the dollar symbol there on the screen on YouTube, and you give us a dollar amount you're willing to donate, and we'll feature your comment or question on the screen as we go along. There are also super stickers and super thanks if you want to give those a try. But John's question was that he saw a different layout in last week's Speeding Bulletin video that I do on Wednesdays. He says, is that the format moving forward? It's something I'm experimenting with, different backgrounds, using a bit of a green screen. I know I've got a nice background here with my collection and the shelves and all the different figurines and statues and things, but I thought might change it up a bit and try something different. And you'll see a little bit more of that. It does take a little bit more time to do that, but something I'm experimenting with, so I appreciate that you noticed. All right, let's move into our different segments that we do. We will start with the fan favorite segment of our show. All right, Michael, what was the fan favorite question from last week?
What is your favorite tribute/parody Superman comic book cover? And JP Rocha wrote, my favorite tribute is actually a DC Comics tribute to the blaxploitation movie Superfly, starring Ron O'Neal. Never a dude like this one. He's an alien from Krypton, man. This cover from the New 52, Superman number 40. DC did a month of movie poster tributes during the start of DCU.
Yeah, so I've got them there side by side, the Superfly one on the right, obviously the original, and the Superman parody or tribute version. And Superman, instead of having a gun and money, has got chains in his hand, which is obviously fitting.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, JP.
Lorenzo Valdez wrote, for my favorite Superman parody cover, I hereby submit Kerry Callan's cover from the special edition of Mad Magazine that DC published for Free Comic Book Day this year. Beyond just being funny, this issue is fascinating and is filled with DC parodies that Mad Magazine has featured over many decades. And therefore, reading it, you can look back at how different moments in DC history were perceived in their time.
Yeah, very good. I've seen that one, I think, as a magnet as well. So it's very cool that they are doing that. One's funny. It's like, oh, crap, I'm already in my costume. So no need to rip open the shirt. But yeah, very funny take on the shirt rips. Thank you very much for that one, Lorenzo. Next up is Alex R, who says, my favorite Superman tribute cover is the cover to Superman Supreme number 41. A great Superman series from the 90s that is sadly out of print with collections that are very expensive. You can look at the cover and tell exactly what type of comic you are getting and who the character is referencing. Yeah, so that's a take on, obviously, Superman number 1. The 1939 cover.
And it's by Jerry Ordway.
Nice.
Which was what makes it even better to me. Yeah, that Supreme run's interesting. Jason J, to wrap it up, wrote, howdy, Super Team. This Superman 2 parody cover is pretty hilarious, with the Phantom Zoners and Alfred E. Newman causing Supes some grief. The spitting image of Christopher Reeve in his Superman boxers is just classic. I also have fond memories poring over this issue during a family vacation when it first came out.
Yeah, I've got this one in my collection too. I've got the different Mad Magazine parody Superman covers, but yeah, the fact that he's got his took it to the dry cleaners and it looks like it's shrunk to be Alfred's size. And yeah, there's the Christopher Reeve, the boots, or whatever they are. It's like he's got the socks with the kind of like a suspender type socks around his legs. It's very funny. Very cool. So that was for Superman 2, obviously. So thank you to Alex, Jason, to Lorenzo and JP for sending in those parody covers for the fan favorite segment of our show. So some really cool looks at some of the tribute covers that have been released over the years. And what is our new fan favorite question for this week, Mark?
It is, what is your favorite Lex Luthor statue or action figure?
Yeah, figurine, statue, action figure, your favorite Lex Luthor. We've been doing comic book ones for a while now. So let's move over to the figurines, action figures, statue side of things. Your favorite Lex Luthor figurine, statue, or action figure. Send in your answers to the email address on the screen right now, which is info@supermanhomepage.com. That's info@supermanhomepage.com, and we will show the examples that you send in when we return to this segment next week. There are a few that I think I'll take a snapshot or pull down one of the Lex Luthor ones that I've got in my collection that is one of my favorites. So looking forward to seeing what people point out next week. And gentlemen, feel free to do that too if you've got an action figure or a statue or a figurine that you want to bring down. Show us for show and tell next week when we do the fan favorite segment of the show.
Okay, that might be fun.
Yeah. We've got a super chat from Amethyst Willow, who we haven't seen in a while, saying, missed the show. I'll try to make it more. I think I'll be at Superman Day in Cleveland next year. You have 3 people since I was here. I'm very much looking forward to Superman in July. So, yeah, thank you, Amethyst. Yes, it's been a while since you've been on the show. The 3 of us have been combining our forces to do this show over the last couple of weeks, with one or the other being away sometimes, if they've been ill or unavailable. But, yeah, for the most part, we are doing Mark, Michael, and Steve for the show moving forward. So thank you, Amethyst, and glad you were able to tune in for tonight's show live and be with us as we do tonight's program. And indeed, thank you to everyone who is watching us live. We really appreciate your company. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up or a like, whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook right now. Very important as we get into the last 25 minutes of the show to let the algorithm know that this is a live show that is being watched by people who appreciate it. So thank you for doing that. And if you're just lurking, feel free to post a comment so that we can call out your name maybe later on as we're wrapping up the show. All right, so that's the fan favorite question for this week. Let's get into this week. We're looking at the costume analysis series of Clark Kent, and now we're doing Tyler Hoechlin's version of the character. And I mean, Tyler Hoechlin's Clark Kent is in pretty much every episode of the TV series. So I'm mainly looking at the Clark Kent at the Daily Planet, which is what we did with Smallville. We're mainly looking at what he's wearing when he's at the Daily Planet. So mostly in the flashbacks and those kind of sequences. Although the glasses is something we can look at for any episode, because he's wearing the same glasses regardless whether he's at the Daily Planet or at home. So let's have a look at Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, Clark Kent, looking at what he wears. So, as I said, in his everyday clothing at home on the Smallville farm, he's worn different suits, different shirts, different costumes, different what have you, different apparel. But we're looking mainly at his Clark Kent attire for the Daily Planet. But the glasses, as I said, have been used regardless of what episode they are. And here they are here. They're more of a wireframe glass rather than the bolder, complete frame glass, which, again, is a more modern style.
Yeah, I like the glasses that he wears on the show. It is kind of a mix of, you've got the plastic sides, but kind of the more wiry looking on the front. So I think what they do is a good job of kind of disguising his face.
Yep.
It seemed like a lot of thought was put into that.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's a more modern look. There's not a lot to say, really. I mean, Mike's right. It's big enough that it does kind of mask his face a little bit. He just looks like a regular guy. He just literally just looks like a regular guy, not trying to hide anything or not, just a regular guy. Do you know what I mean? I mean, so, like with Christopher Reeve, it kind of felt like, yeah, he's trying to hide who he is, But this is like, it's almost as if, even though he's Superman, he might just put the glasses on for the heck of it anyway, because it's just, just how it looks. Exactly. It just, it just makes him look like really a pretty much regular guy.
And, we've got the comments that people in the comments, Nostalgic Pod Blast says that he likes that there are actual lenses in the glasses. Benjamin's Video, Channel 95, says, I think he needs to shave. That's been a comment that we've got for this Clark Kent Superman since day one. It's part of what they're trying to... It's part of the character's look for this series, in that they're showing that he is a more mature Superman. And it's just a differentiation. And the fact that, Tyler Hoechlin probably gets a 5 o'clock shadow by 9 a.m. Probably doesn't hurt and makes it easier for them to not worry about him always being clean shaven. But it works for this version of the character because he is a father of teenage boys, so it's showing a more distinguished, more adult version of Clark Kent. So I think the glasses look great on him here. And then we move to the suit. So here we are in a kind of one of the flashback sequences where he is first joining the Daily Planet and got a suit on. I love the fact that instead of like it's not a three-piece suit, but he has a vest or a pullover or whatever you want to call it underneath the jacket. He's still wearing a tie, still wearing a button-up shirt, and it's still not necessarily modern, but it has a modern retro look, if you know what I mean. It's still very much it's got a kind of timeless look to it.
Yeah, the sweater vest, I don't know if this was on purpose, but, that's what Clark wore in the Superboy strip. It wasn't, he had like a white button down on underneath. So it's kind of a mix of that. I think it separates him from the other Clark Kents. It's not quite as fashionista as Dean Cain was, or like waspy as Christopher Reeves was, for lack of a better term. It's not business casual, but it kind of fits the character.
Yeah, very understated.
I mean, it just looks like the type of suit that any guy would wear, in any office, anywhere. It's to say it's more modern. I guess it is more modern. Obviously,
yeah.
We're not talking about George Reeves and all that kind of thing, but it just has it just has a nice look because it's kind of classic, but it's also just different. The style of the suit is just different enough, and wearing the sweater vest and all that just gives it its own style.
Indeed. And then he's not wearing a hat, so we can't look at the hat here. There's no fedora. Right. There is no hint towards that. So anytime he's ever worn a hat in Superman and Lois is where he's been coach or baseball assistant, whatever he is there, wearing a baseball cap is as close as Clark gets to wearing any type of hat that I can think of. But yeah, definitely no fedora or office hat for this Clark Kent, which is fitting with the times. But we look at the hair, and in that shot that we just saw, it has the kind of geeky, nerdy type of, brushed over across his forehead type of hairdo that is very bland. But then as he's obviously at home or more relaxed, as he gets older, he's kind of got a bit more of a stylish brushed over hairdo. But it still is distinguishable from his Superman hair, which is a bit more of that kind of wavy, off the forehead look.
Yeah, no matter what, he kind of like Dean Cain looks like he's wearing product in his hair.
Yes,
and a little more of a coif, and it's like, did he take the time for that? Well, he can use super speed, and I'm sure it was some trial and error, because I'm sure the first time he brushed his hair really fast, it looked like a hot mess. But I think again, what it does is it serves to make Tyler's Clark very distinctive from the other Supermen. The nice thing about this show is that as much as it is kind of like the legacy of Superman on television in the movies and in the comics and such, kind of boiled into one, it's very much its own thing.
Yeah.
And so you want a Clark that's going to look like that.
Yeah, first of all, that's a nice head of hair.
We all are very envious.
Yes. Again, I just think it looks, he just looks like a everyday guy. He just looks like a dad, trying to just a guy of the the 2000s, and just there's not a lot to say about it that much. It's just I like the style of it, and it just makes it a little more contemporary, I think, the look of it.
Exactly. So there we have looking at Tyler Hoechlin as Clark Kent Superman. Personally, he's Clark Kent. We don't see him that much in the Daily Planet. There's 1 or 2 episodes, or a few more than that, looking back at him. But it's a classic look. It's very, it's understated. It's not overly fashionable, but it's not dorky or geeky either. He kind of just fits in at the office, but he does look like a mild-mannered type of guy, and he's not trying to stand out, but he's also trying to blend in. So all in all, his Clark Kent is more in this series the dad figure who is at the farm in Smallville. He's not necessarily the reporter that we're seeing in other versions of the story, although we have, as I said, seen flashbacks to that. So given that, it's hard to really judge his version of Clark Kent from a stylistic point of view. So I'm going to kind of go middle ground and give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay.
I really like it.
Cool.
I just it just works for me on just about every level.
I was going to give it an 8, so I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, you go right in the middle there.
I would
right
stick with an
between us.
8 because it's a good. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice more modern take on the character, and I like that.
Very cool. All right, so that is our costume analysis series on Clark Kent. I don't know. I think that's it for Clark Kent. We don't have anywhere else to go, do we? Unless we go back and looking at the Superboy, which is kind of, you can't really do Superboy too much because we've been looking at the Clark Kent disguise for Daily Planet. I guess it can maybe work for Superboy, but I don't know if we go back there.
Yeah, that's more of a retrospective of the different looks the character had between John James Newton and the second season and the third and fourth season, and how kind of like the look of that character evolved. But that would involve you. That would involve you doing some legwork and getting some pictures together, which might be fun, but you've got a lot on your plate anyways.
Do we? I was going to say maybe like we can change tack and go looking at Lois Lane, but do we, three middle-aged guys trying to?
Yeah, the optics of that aren't very good. I don't feel very comfortable with that. It's just like look at her in this dress. Look at her in that dress.
Oh, geez.
You know.
So. Yeah, no, so we might end the series there. But if you have any ideas, folks, on a series that you would like us to do, and Mind the Gap's asking the question about Lois Lane, but I just think we kind of touched on why that might not be the best way to go. But we can think about ideas, and if you have any ideas, feel free to email us. info@supermanhomepage.com is the same email address if you want to give us any ideas for a new series of analyses that we can do here on the show. But in the next couple of weeks, we're going to obviously be inundated with talk on the new Superman and Lois series, where we'll be spending a bit of time on that. So, it's just an idea that we might take some concepts from people as to what we could do. But happy to hear any thoughts you might have. But for now, let's move on to This Week in History with Michael Bailey. Here is your intro.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bonds of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
A whole lot this week. We're in that weird point where sometimes some months there aren't as many books in the past, but we're going to start in 1954 with Superman number 93. With the man that Superman feared. This was kind of a common trope of the era where the stories were very gimmicky. So, like what are we going to do this time? Well, it's somebody Superman's afraid of, and he looks like a nerd. So, but that's only one of the 3 stories. This is the world's greatest adventure character. That's they really needed to workshop that a little more. So, jumping ahead to 1964, we have Justice League of America number 31. Superman is not on the cover, but I'm sure he appears somewhere in the book. This is kind of around the time period where Batman and Superman started becoming more of the story, because at first, both Jack Schiff and Mort Weissinger, who were the editors of Batman and Superman respectively, really didn't want those characters on the team. And they're just like, no, we're still doing it. So I'm sure he's in there. And then we have World's Finest number 145, where apparently, I don't know if Batman and Superman are like performing that experiment where, that they did at that college where some of the students were the prison guards and some were the prisoners and all that. But yeah, Batman looks like he's being a jerk, and I'm not really down with that. So jumping all the way to 1984, we have Superman number 402. This is in that weird period, that kind of year and a half before, 2 years before the reboot happens. And the stories get really kind of all over the place here. Some of them feel like they're new, but some of them also feel like they're emptying inventory. And I don't remember this one. I know I've read it like 2 or 3 times, and
Definitely
I have no memory
not
of what's
being
inside of it.
clean of body there.
Yeah.
I remember.
So yeah,
no,
yeah.
I remember the
He's
cover.
not. He's not.
Definitely. No, I remember the cover. I definitely had this issue, but
Nice.
I can't remember what it's about.
Yeah, he's not being very demure, nor is he being very mindful. Jumping ahead to 1994, we get a little more exciting here. Batman Adventures number 25, which was the first Batman the Animated Series style Superman that we ever saw. Well, that's not quite true. You had the magazine, the Superman Batman magazine that ran for about a year or so, but for like the comics proper, this was the first, and you could tell because he's got the long hair and everything. So that's actually a pretty good story too. Lex Luthor's in it. We also have Superboy number 9, which it's King Shark is a shark. If you're ever wondering where King Shark came from, here it is, folks. He was a Superboy villain before he became the darling of the Suicide Squad and the Harley Quinn series. And Superman, the Man of Steel, number 38, which was the first part of Dead Again, where the tomb of Superman has been opened up and the body is still there. What's going on? Spoiler warning, it's all Brainiac. So, not that we knew that at the time. They actually played it very well. Jumping ahead to 2004, we have Action Comics number 819. We're getting more into the Chuck Austin era, which is not fondly remembered, though you have some Ivan Reis art. The only problem with this run, really, is that he just made Lois thoroughly unlikable and tried to have Superman like hook back up with Lana Lang, and that was just really... that didn't go down well with the readers at the time, I'm remembering. You also had Teen Titans number 15, which of course has Superboy in it. That's when Tom Grummett was coming on to draw a couple issues, so that's awesome. Then in 2014, we've got Smallville Chaos number 2, the continuation of the season 11 books. We have Superboy Future's End number 1, and if you thought I didn't remember what was in Superman 402, I never read this one. I had long dropped Superboy at this point. The Future's End thing was just... God, that was just weird. We also had Superman by Jeff Johns. Yeah, we have Superman by Jeff Johns and John Romita Jr. director's cut. This is when comics were desperately trying to be anything other than comics. And, at some point I got to go back and read this because I remember liking the first issue and then disliking it as more and more as it went on.
I think that had something to do with John Romita Jr.'s artwork.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that he has done like his Amazing Spider-Man work in the early 2000s and in the 90s was fantastic. His Daredevil stuff, but man, it was a step down here. And also Superman Unchained number 8 came out. We're getting close to the end of that series because those issues were progressively later and later, if I'm remembering correctly. In the real world, on September 10th, The New Adventures of Superman, the Filmation series, the series built on lies, premiered in 1966. On September 11th, I'm going to butcher this name, Maria Gabrieldi Ferreira, born in 1992, and she's going to be in the upcoming Superman movie. I believe she is the engineer.
Correct.
And Tyler Hoechlin.
Oh,
who
I
we
missed
were
him.
just talking about.
Hang on.
Tyler Hoechlin was born in 1987. They just keep getting younger and younger than us fellas.
Yep.
Wow.
It's whatever. September 12th, Lois and Clark premiered in 1993. I remember that day vividly. And I remember sitting there watching it as it premiered. It did not show the entire pilot. It was an edited version of the pilot so that they could do a 15-minute making of feature before the 10 o'clock hour, which I wish they would have just shown the entire thing, in all honesty. And September 13th, Mike Grell, who is very well known for drawing characters like Warlord and Green Arrow, but he also had a long run on Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and he was born in 1947. And that is This Week in History.
Thank you very much, Michael. Excellent to look back at some of those books and some key moments in the history of Superman. New Adventures of Superman. Why did you say it was built on lies?
Okay, so to get the DC license, Filmation, and if you grew up in the 80s, you knew that Filmation cartoons all ended with like a moral of, don't be a jerk and don't lie to your parents. They were a very small time operation. And to get the DC license, Lou Scheimer, who was the head of the group, like got all of his relatives to come in and fill up the offices to make it look like they were a bustling operation. And Ted Knight, who would go on to be on Too Close for Comfort, he was in Caddyshack, he was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was their main voiceover guy, and he was told that if they were going to come into the booth to make it look like to kind of disguise the fact that they didn't have a lot of voiceover people, he was supposed to say, "Oh, we're having a problem," and apparently he did that too early. But they got, based on all of that, Filmation got the DC license and produced a bunch of shows. But yeah, they did it by basically shining DC Comics on.
Very good. There you have it. Just quickly looking at the comic book side of things, DC are heavily promoting this DC All In special. Like on social media, they're just like Joshua Williamson, Daniel St. Pierre. They're just Scott Snyder, especially. They're hammering us with all this promotional material and updates on DC All In. And I mean, it looks, all very interesting. I mean, especially this DC All In special. We've got some, covers. You've got the new logo there. You've got a lot of people that are involved. Some of the artwork's a little bit, how you going? But, Daniel St. Pierre's artwork's always fantastic. And that looks cool. But then you've got Wes Craig's artwork, which is a little bit rougher. I don't know how Superman positions his body in that configuration. That's very strange. But all in all, yeah, some interesting artwork for this DC All-In special, which will be hitting our shelves. When is it? It's coming out October 2nd.
That's in October, isn't it?
Yep, yeah. October 2nd.
And that's the thing, is that I'm looking forward to the All-In special. I'm looking forward to the books that are coming after it that are in the main universe. I'm just not interested in this Absolute thing at all. And what I'm worried about is that when it finally comes time, because this is a several-year project, so it's not going to all wrap up in a year. I'm kind of worried that by the time we get to it, it's going to connect in a way that will make me go back and have to read those if I want to read everything. But no, I mean, I gotta say, I'm excited that they're pushing this, but there's this little thing in the back of my head that's like, they have done so many initiatives like this over the past 5 years that it's exciting, but there's a part of me is like, how long is it going to stick around?
Exactly. Well, look, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Superman Homepage Live. I want to thank my co-hosts, Michael Bailey and Mark Lax. Thank you, gentlemen.
As always, guys.
Steve.
Want to thank everyone who tuned in live with us tonight. Thank you for your participation in the show, your comments, just being with us in this past hour has been fantastic. Thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Luke Moody, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. Thank you for your support. The three of us will be back next week on Monday, September 16th, which is my birthday. But it'll be Tuesday. It'll be Tuesday here for me, so it won't interrupt my birthday celebrations. Not that I'm having any, but we'll be back at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time next week for that show. Hope you'll tune in then. Make sure you give us a like, a thumbs up. Make sure you comment. But we really love that our live listeners and live viewers are with us each week. Thank you for your participation. Be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself, Michael Bailey, Mark Lax. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. Good night.